Well, good morning and welcome to Being Your Own CEO. This is a weekly hangout for solo entrepreneurs, and it's intended to be modeled after the Mastermind, Napoleon Hill's Mastermind concept. My idea is that our participants will come in and give and receive support and share ideas and learn together. So my name is Lowell Ann Fulsang, and I've been in business since 1996, helping people get to where they want to go. So we have two guests with us at the moment. There may be some others. Larry, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Larry Earnhardt. My business is Alchemy Business Consulting. I call myself the Profit Mentor, and I like to help business owners, especially small business owners, to make their businesses profitable and earn money and be happy.
Those two things go really well together, don't they? Earning money and being happy.
Well, it's better than the alternative. So.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for joining us, Larry. And Heidi, how would you like to introduce yourself?
I would like to introduce myself that I am a person who is wearing a lot of hats and has done a lot of things in my life. And at the moment, I'm most inspired of being a Hangout host and creating everything around that. And I'm doing the Connections Forum show with Margarita and the Wisdom Factory show with my husband, Mark. And we are in between the seasons, and then we do only chatting between peers every week. And yeah, as a profession, I would do, I'm a voice coach and also a transformational relationship coach. And at the moment, I do a little bit this and a little bit that, and most of my energy goes in creating these wonderful hangouts.
Yes, and before we came live, we were chatting, and I have to admit that I'm pretty new at Hangouts on Air, and we've been doing a straight hangout, a group hangouts for quite some time, but I decided to move to the Hangout on Air, and the challenge has been to show people how to get into the film strip or into the meeting room when it's a hangout on air. So that's going to be the challenge. And thanks for the clues on that, Heidi. I appreciate that. So
yeah.
So I thought, as noted in the invitation to the Hangout on Air, that we might have a chat about engaging with our prospects. How do we do that? What is it that we do? I've noticed that there seems to be a lot of concentration about getting going online and getting involved in this social networking thing and that social networking thing, but there seems to be less understanding of, okay, so now I'm there. What is it that I do? How do I engage with the people that I see as my prospects? So I've been noticing that there are some new terms that seem to be popping up all over. There's the ROI, return on investment. There's the ROE, return on engagement. And then there's another one that seems to be popping up now that's called return on relationships. So I found that kind of interesting, because as we're engaging with people and coming onto all of these social networks, like how do we engage with people? How do we create a relationship with people? So Heidi, you're kind of an experienced Hangout on Air person now. How do you engage with the people that you see as your prospects?
I mean, I'm very much present on whatever I do. When we do Hangouts on air, we are very much engaging with the people who are posting, who are commenting, you know, and on Google Plus itself, I'm always engaged. I'm posting, I'm engaged with other people who I begin to know. You know, there are sometimes new people showing up in the Hangouts, and then when they show up twice or three times, I try to connect with them and see what, you know, what they're up to. And so, and it's creating a whole bunch of people. You have the idea that you know them, you know, by these constant interactions. So it would be probably return on engagement if you are talking in these categories.
Yeah, right.
So far the return I haven't really had yet, but I think it's too early. We had a show with Martin Shervington, and when he said very clearly, this takes time. It takes time. He was 2.5 years before he asked money for things he is offering. So it's not something to do quickly, you know. So what I try now to do, and I invest a lot of time, also money in it, is to first of all make an ebook out of all of our shows and sell it for little money, but at least a little bit of money. So maybe I can get at least the costs out. And I also want to create about these integral topics a mastermind group, which is would be a membership group with a monthly little, but a little fee, so that not everything we are doing is all gratis. So I'm preparing the websites, So far I'm investing time and money, and sooner or later I think we will find the people who are interested in sponsoring their possibility to know more about development, integral, whatever we are doing, relationships and so on.
Yeah. So that's a good point. I've heard that many times as well, that it does take time and energy and effort and so forth. So yeah. So what about you, Larry? How do you stay engaged, or how do you interact with the people that you see as being your prospects?
Well, what I try to do is mainly through blogging on my website, and what I'm trying to do is create informational pieces that people find interesting or controversial, or finding that it engages them and wants them to learn more about me and my business and my opinions on things. So I try to write and get it out to the public through social media, through LinkedIn, through Google Plus, through Twitter, mainly. What I find is that the more polarized of a stance I take on things, the more interest people have, whether it's positive or negative. But if I just sort of say things and they're very neutral, it doesn't really get noticed or read. So it pays to have an opinion, I think, and I think also part of it is to participate with others and make comments on other blogs, on other posts that people do on their websites or through social media. I do a lot of what I do through LinkedIn because I'm a business person, so I'm looking for that kind of relationship. And it's different than trying to go out for a cup of coffee with somebody. You have a direct one-on-one relationship, and here it's a one-to-many relationship. So you're trying to influence people and get them interested, but you're at least 1 or 2 steps removed from being able to directly influence them. So you have to get something that gets them interested and emotional in some way about you.
And this seems to be the difference to what we learn here on Google Plus. It's much more the idea of the one-to-one connection. The one prospect at a time, connect with them and create relationships, direct relationships, personal relationships. And I think it is much more my, what I like to do. I never like to write emails, send them out, and hardly ever get any any responses. It's so anonymous, and I like this much better, to be in contact just now, to see you, for instance, Larry, It is just the difference. If you had had a letter from me or I from you, I probably would have clicked it away. Now I have known you, and maybe next time I get something, I would look to it and see, oh, what is he doing, and something like that. This is the big, big, big chance of Hangouts and of public Hangouts, because everybody can watch us now, can see us, and engage with us if they want.
Well, and I agree. That's part of the reason I decided on Google Plus is it does give you that opportunity to get to know people. But getting back to this whole thing about engaging with people, how does one do that? So, Heidi, you mentioned when you see somebody shows up for the first time, is somebody that's new. Do you link with them right away? Do you circle them? What's your process?
Normally, I circle them and see if they circle me back. I forget in my Hangouts to ask them to circle me. I'm not yet so professional in the sense that things come out of my mouth. These advertisement things. I asked them to circle me in YouTube. I put the annotations then in and ask to circle me or go to my website. When they have some really good comments, for instance, not just, oh, how great or whatsoever, then I would answer them back. And then sometimes a conversation develops. And then, they come into my awareness, and I probably come into their awareness, and it's at the same time, let's say 100 people, they appear, disappear, then appear again, and it's sort of slowly opening the amount of people you hold in your awareness, let's say, in this way.
So, is there any time or any point in all of that you send any one of those people just a personal message?
Yes, I did, but I'm realizing that probably most of these people are not really very, let's say, good in Google+. And when you send a private message via your homepage or your profile page, they might not get it. Even people who are experienced in Google Plus sometimes don't get it. I send it to them, and then I ask them by email, did you get it? No. So this is a little bit tricky. I found out the best thing is circle them and then send chat message. This is a way they might, if they are more often on Google Plus, receive it. I had some people answering, some not, but I mean, it's what it is. So
yeah, I think you're right that many people are they're overwhelmed if they're receiving notifications through their emails. They get so many that they become overwhelmed and don't really see anything. And yeah. I know that for myself, I have all the emails. I have the email notifications turned off because it is so overwhelming, and I simply use the notifications up in the toolbar. That's where I stay in touch.
This is a little bit tricky because when they disappear, when you have clicked on it, and then afterwards you don't find them again. And so I leave them on, the notifications in my email, because I want to know what is going on. So
yeah, that is tricky. I know. And so it means that you have to deal with it right away. You can't just leave it. Yeah.
Yes.
So now, what about the concept of communities? Do either one of you participate in any communities?
Do you want to go first, Larry?
Larry?
Is he muted? No.
I think you're muted, Larry.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do through LinkedIn. That's just subscribing to the different groups that are there, and I get feeds from them, and then I can post to those individual groups.
Mm-hmm.
Google Plus has, because of the Hangouts, has different kinds of groups, and I think you can associate yourself with those.
Mm-hmm.
And the visual component of Google Plus is very powerful, and that is, if you can get people's interest. And I think the problem that you've seen, Lolan, and some of us have seen is getting participation.
Mm-hmm.
Is getting people to join in with your group and take that time out every week. Even though it seems like a relatively low barrier to participation, there's still, even though people will say yes, and you can see people are saying they're going to join the Hangout, and then they don't show up. And even I've been guilty of that from time to time.
Well, life happens, for sure. But I've been playing a little bit with two communities. One of them as mainly as a participant. In Victoria here, we have a little group called HOST, that stands for Home Office Support Team. And a colleague, Bruce McCallum, started up a HOST community. And quite a few people who belong to that organization have gone in, but they don't participate in there. And another way that I've been doing it is I'm running a community on behalf of another women's group, and I'm trying to encourage and demonstrate and model, how to go in and make use of the community by posting things and commenting and introducing people and all of those good things. But I think you're right. I find when I go to networking things and mention it that there are some people who are very nervous about somehow or other the idea of being in front of a camera freaks them out, I think. I don't know. But I think that it's going to take time for people to gain that comfort level. I know that when I started out, I kind of felt that way, and I just eventually sat in on enough Hangouts that I just got over it. But yeah, but getting back to engaging with the people that we see as our prospects or possible people that we would do business with in the future. I noticed a speaker that came to host this last week, how she has, and host is listed on Meetup. And so that it's a platform for listing physical meetings rather than visual ones like this. And so she came as a speaker, and she went in and posted a leading question to all of the people in there, and invited people to say what their goal was or what they planned on doing. And so people have been going in and responding, and she's been, in other words, she started a conversation by posting kind of a leading question. And I was trying to think how one could make that kind of thing work over here on Google Plus. Like, I guess if I'm thinking about this Hangout on air that we're doing right this very minute, what would be a way to get more sort of engagement right there on the event page? Have you sort of played with that at all, Heidi?
Yeah, I know that at the beginning there were not many people engaged, and then you have to do, quite a bit of publicity, and when people at attracted by the title, then they are coming, and you can invite them personally when you have a circle which is a fit for this Hangout. And I have a notification circle which I always invite. Nobody has complained about my invitations, so as soon as somebody complains, I take them out. Many people, not many, but some come because somebody else is pinging them and said, this would be interesting for you. And altogether, I think posting things, being in other communities, and telling people what you are doing. And you know, about communities, I haven't done my own community yet because I know how much work it is. And I have participated in the community, the 28 Days of Love Challenge from Karen Chin. And this was a very brilliant idea to do it. I mean, 28 days to post every day photos to a certain topic and write something about it. It was a little bit, let's say, quite a commitment. But she got the engagement by that. She got to know at least 40 people. From 40 people who were in the community, about 15 really made it to the end and posted every day. Some maybe came after and posted that to the, towards after the end of these days. But there is a group of people, I now have the idea that I know them, and they respond to my posts and I respond to their posts. Maybe not to all, but you know, we have a certain connection. And if I know this is interesting for one of them, I plus mention them and they get the notification. So this is a way to have a topic, a good topic, and create a community around that, you know, and make it a little bit, how can you say, interesting, you know, for them to do it. Or some people try with giving free gifts and things. I wouldn't do that because it's too commercialized, you know, when you give out T-shirts or something for participation. For me, it's not really, but you can do it too. I mean, you just invent something to make people go to your community. I know that I'm personally don't engage very much in communities. There are at least 3 or 4 communities I really would like to engage more. But you know, with all the things I have to do, I don't have the time to. I'm still in the phase of my, let's say, future business of content creation. I have to do so many things about that, you know, that I cannot engage as much as I would like in communities. And there are a lot of interesting communities.
There are. And I mean, you bring up a point that many people say when the whole topic of social engagement or social networking comes up is the amount of time, and we're just talking about the engagement in Google Plus, and I know many people really try to you know, do many things on 2 or 3 different platforms, and I think I don't know how they can possibly do it. But
I have I'm practically only on Google Plus, and I have this auto post thing. Whatever I post here will come to LinkedIn and will come to Facebook. And I began with LinkedIn. I did a course about LinkedIn, but it is not my platform. I don't really like it. So things of my posts arrive there, but I don't engage there, and I don't engage very much on Facebook. A little bit, but not really very much. So my main home is Google Plus, and sometimes a little bit Twitter, which I'm beginning to learn. But you know.
Yes. So I think I know what you're speaking about. I think it's called Friends Plus Me. It will
yes, it is.
It will send anything from Google Plus. I think I use it. It goes to Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. So, but I must admit, I get a fair amount of response to my posts from LinkedIn.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. So Larry, when you're saying that you were engaging with quite a few of your clients on LinkedIn, I sure wish Paul Murray had made it in, because he spends most of his time in LinkedIn and seems to do quite a good job at it. So, do you join the conversations, Larry, or how? I mean, I'm not very active in groups on LinkedIn, but
That's actually how I met Paul, was through LinkedIn, and it was one of those where LinkedIn makes recommendations about who to be friends with, and I think I sent him one of the automated requests to link together, and he actually sent a note back.
mhm.
And we just started a conversation that way, and it ended up with me being invited to the Young Entrepreneurs Society to speak at a meeting, and then he's also invited me to a couple other things. I'm judged at a business competition at Camosun not too long ago, and we'll be doing again at Royal Roads this week. And so it's sort of snowballing just because we spoke to each other. And there, you and I have a tendency to just do the automated responses, but the way to start the ball rolling is to actually say something and make a comment. And I have received a number of other comments from people, but they're sales. They're trying to sell me something, and those I just delete. I'm not interested in those. If you want to talk and have, just exchange something meaningful, it's okay if there's a sales goal in mind, but don't just sell me off, right off the bat either. That's not an effective way of using social media.
Exactly.
I totally agree as well. I mean, you're not going to you don't meet somebody at a networking event and say, "Hi, do you want to buy something?"
But that's what happens. People do that in their own way. They are, here's my card, do business with me.
So
I've done that.
as you mentioned that, and that's true with LinkedIn, that when you invite somebody and you make a personal comment, etc., etc. But I was thinking about that as it relates to when people circle you and you circle them back. I'm wondering whether it would make sense to connect with them on a more personal level than just a circling.
Well, that's one of the negatives, I think, about Google Plus, is that you can anonymously put somebody in your circle.
Yeah.
And there's no interaction at all. It's just, you may not even see the notification that somebody's put you in their circle. So, these circles happen, but there's no, I can't reject you, really, unless I really take some special means.
Yeah.
So, no, this is not the meaning of circles. When somebody is circling you, it means only that they get your content in their stream, but it has nothing to do really with you. You are not affected by them. So, and you circle people you want to know about it, and you are not necessarily in contact with them.
Yeah, it's more like a Twitter feed, actually. You're just sort of signing up to hear the other person. And if you want to communicate with them, then you have to find a way to talk to the person.
Yes.
In some fashion. And that's how you can establish
you can send them a Google Hangout message, and they then get the notification. It pops up the window, and when they have done a sort of privacy setting, they can choose if they take it or not. I have done it because I get sometimes just hi from some Indian name or something, and how are you or what? And I don't respond to these, because if they send me a meaningful message, then I would respond, but not hi and good morning, from a person I've never met. So you can sort them out. And you can also ignore them, but this is a way to connect with people you have circled, and they then can choose if they want to connect with you or not.
So I'm going to do something because something is just whirling around in my mind right now. So when somebody circles me and I circle them back, then I'm going to try sending them a personal message about something about what I've noticed about where they are or what they do or something to see if I could start a conversation and see what kind of response or how that might work. I think that would be worth a try, a little bit of experimentation. Because I do get in my notifications, I can see when somebody has circled me, so I can. Sometimes you'll get 3 or 4 at once, and that makes it more difficult. But even if you get 1, maybe that would be a way to try and see what happens when you try to engage in a meaningful way rather than just hi, good morning. Yeah.
I would recommend when you are interested, then to go to their profile and see in the About page who they are. I normally don't circle back people who have nothing in their About page, where I don't know what they do, where they are. No, where they are sometimes is there, but no, nothing. So I won't circle them back.
No.
And yeah. And then what you could do is just leave a comment on their posts. I think this is the easiest way to get into contact with people, so they might see it more easily if you are interested in them. If you're not interested in them, just that was it,
Yeah. So it would be useful to stop and think about, okay, so if somebody circled me and I go back to their profile and I see something about them, what would be my first stage of engagement? What would I say to see whether I could get a conversation going? I'm going to play with that, see what happens. So I'm looking at the time. I think we're well over the 15 minutes that I promised Heidi. But I think it's important for us all to be thinking about more ways, regardless of what platform we're working with, more and better ways to engage with people on a one-on-one basis. That seems to be the only way to go, is to create those relationships one at a time. And as Heidi mentioned earlier, that does take time and attention and caring, I would say, and listening, trying to determine what works for those people out there that we want to connect with. So I appreciate your participation. Any parting shots from either one of you before we close our broadcast here?
Just begin. Do it. I find it very exciting to get to know so many people who otherwise I would never have known and met, like you now, It's wonderful. And I would like to circle you, and I need your name and blah blah. So we can with an ever bigger circle of people we will be in contact, and in this direct contact. This is almost like meeting. It's wonderful.
It's lovely.
Well, it's about as close as you can get without actually going to a coffee shop together. Yep.
Any parting shot from you, Larry, before we go?
Well, this is a way of leveraging ourselves, and that's what we're trying to figure out, is how do we use social media? And I think a lot of us small business people have been trying to figure it out. And, we get told, use social media, and in that business competition that I mentioned, the particular problem that the teams were working on, their solution was to promote this business was use social media. But it was just use social media. It was like it was this magic saying, and by invoking the magic, all of a sudden it happens, and that's not really how it works. As Heidi mentioned, it's a lot of hard work, like anything. So you have to work at it.
It's exciting.
Yeah. It takes a
Yeah.
couple years, you know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I guess. Yeah.
It's hard work, but it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
So as a parting thing that I'm thinking about, I'm going to issue a challenge to anybody who's out there watching. Please go to the event page and share with us your ideas about how to engage more and create relationships in the social platforms that you happen to be using. So that way we can keep the conversation going. So
Yeah, and maybe, Lolan, the event page, they might not have the URL, so maybe just leave the comments on YouTube when they see the replay.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 different ways that you can reply. If you're looking at this from YouTube, you can put something in the comments and it will show up in Google+. So there are various ways to do that. So I think it's time for us to close. And again, I want to thank both Heidi and Larry for joining me this morning for an interesting conversation. And for those of you who are out there, stay tuned. We will be back again next Tuesday. And by the way, I was offline for a while because I moved. So I'm all
The
moved.
place looks a little different there.
Yeah, I moved and settled, and so I'm back at it. So we'll connect again next week. So this is Lowell Ann signing off for now.